All right, guys, how y'all doing? How is everybody doing today? I hope all is well. Today is the first day of August. Can you guys believe it? It's August 1st, 2024. And I wanted to come to you and discuss, as well as share, a Joe Biden's remarks that he made after successfully brokering a prisoner swap with Vladimir Putin. All right, guys, let's get into this. Replay gang, be sure to chime in on the conversation. Feel free to, it's welcome.
Playing more of an ancillary role,
Right.
particularly at some of these.
I'm going to get into this video. Oh, wait, I have to turn off the music. Why is my... Hold on, guys. My music is not cutting off for me. Excuse me. All right, I don't understand. I'm turning it off. There we go. I was like, why won't you go off? Okay. We are ready, guys. Let's get into this from President Biden.
Issues, and here we can see President Biden coming up to the podium right now. Let's listen in.
Josh, thank you. And he is, of course, surrounded by family members. You can see of those now freed.
Everybody? Well, good afternoon. And this is a very good afternoon. A very good afternoon. Today we're bringing home Paul, Evan, also Vladimir. 3 American citizens, 1 American green card holder. All 4 have been imprisoned unjustly in Russia. Paul for nearly 6 years. Vladimir since 2022. Evan since March of 2023. And also since October of 2023. Russian authorities arrested them, convicted them in show trials, and sentenced them to long prison terms with absolutely no legitimate reason whatsoever. None. Paul, a former Marine, was in Russia for a wedding. Evan, a journalist with Russia, in Russia, was in Russia, signed by the Wall Street Journal. Also a journalist, was in Russia to see family. All 3 falsely accused of being spies. And Vladimir was a Russian citizen by birth and holds an American green card. He's a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist and was a pallbearer at my friend John McCain's funeral with me. He spoke out against Putin's regime. For that, he was convicted of treason. And now, their brutal ordeal is over, and they're free. Moments ago, the families and I were able to speak to them on the telephone from the Oval Office. They're out of Russia. Earlier today, they were flown to Turkey, and soon they'll be wheels up on their way home to see their families. This is an incredible relief for all the family members gathered here. It's relief to the friends and colleagues all across the country who've been praying for this day for a long time. The deal that made this possible was a feat of diplomacy and friendship. Multiple countries helped get this done. They joined in difficult, complex negotiations at my request. And I personally thank them all again. And I've thanked them personally, and I've thanked them again. All told, Russia has released 16 prisoners. 8 Russians who are being held in the West will be sent home as well. These 16 prisoners from Russia that Russia has released include 4 Americans, 5 Germans, 7 Russian citizens who are political in their own country. One of those Russians runs a human rights organization, Memorial, which won a Nobel Prize in 2022. Putin threw him in prison for voicing opposition to the war in Ukraine. 4 others work with Alexei Navalny, political opposition leader who died in Russia prison this year. Now they can live safely abroad and continue their work of advocating for democracy if they so choose. This deal would not have been made possible without our allies. Germany, Poland, Slovenia, Norway, and Turkey, they all stepped up and they stood with us. They stood with us. And they made bold and brave decisions, released prisoners being held in their countries who are justifiably being held, and provided logistical support to get the Americans home. So for anyone who questions whether allies matter, they do. They matter. And today is a powerful example of why it's vital to have friends in this world. Friends you can trust, work with, and depend upon, especially on matters of great consequence and sensitivity like this. Our alliances make our people safer, and we begin to see that again today. Let me say this. It says a lot about the United States that we work relentlessly to free Americans who are unjustly held around the world. It also says a lot about us that this deal includes the release of Russian political prisoners. They stood up for democracy and human rights. Their own leaders threw them in prison. The United States helped secure their release as well. That's who we are in the United States. We stand for freedom, for liberty, for justice, not only for our own people, but for others as well. And that's why all Americans can take pride in what we've achieved today. I want to thank everyone in my administration who helped make this happen. Our work did not start just on day one. It started before day one. During the transition, I instructed our national security team to dig into all the cases of hostages being wrongfully detained, which were inherently, well, we inherited them from the prior administration. I wanted to make sure we hit the ground running, and we did. As of today, my administration has brought home over 70 Americans who were wrongfully detained and held hostage abroad. Many since before I took office. Additionally, I issued an executive order in 2022 authorizing penalties like sanctions and travel bans on those who hold Americans against their will. And my State Department has introduced new warnings for Americans about the risk of being wrongfully detained by a foreign government. Deals like this one come with tough calls, and there are never any guarantees. There's nothing that matters more to me than protecting Americans at home and abroad. And so we'll continue to work for the release of all wrongfully detained Americans around the world. Let me end where I began, with Paul, Evan, and also Vladimir and their families. They never gave up hope. You can't imagine what they've been through, all of you. Matter of fact, this lady right here, I think, was living in the Oval Office with us for a while. All kidding aside, can't imagine their joy right now. They're home. Tomorrow's a big day. The 13th birthday of Miriam. Miriam, where are you? Come here. You all know we have a tradition in the Biden family. We sing happy birthday on any birthday. Ready? All of you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Miriam. Happy birthday to you. Remember, no serious guys till you're 30. God love you. She's all Sue's daughter. Now she gets to celebrate with her mom. That's what this is all about. Families able to be together again, like they should have been all along. So I want to thank you again to everyone who did their part. In just a few hours, we'll welcome home our fellow Americans. We're looking forward to that. God willing, we're going to be out at Andrews and get that done. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And this is a good day.
What did you say to them on the phone, sir? What did you say when they answered the phone on the other side?
I said, welcome almost home.
How do you make countries, these so-called abductor states, who said we're taking more Americans in order to get more of their prisoners held? How do you end these perverse incentives, sir?
Or advising people not to go certain places. Tell them what's at risk, what's at stake.
Negotiations, and can you speak to the complexity of working with 6 countries to secure these moves?
Well, look, I'm not going to take the time now, but I'll do this later in the week. I particularly owe a great sense of gratitude to the Chancellor. The demands they were making in May required me to get some significant concessions from Germany, which they originally concluded they could not do because of the person in question. But everybody stepped up. Poland stepped up, Slovenia stepped up, Turkey stepped up. And it matters to have relationships. It really does. These things matter. Pardon me?
Could this improve relations with Russia? Is there any avenue for that after this prisoner exchange deal?
As my sister might say, your lips to God's ears, man.
Would you be willing to speak with Putin now directly?
I don't need to speak with Putin. Anyway.
What happened to weigh that decision? Letting somebody out? It sounds like that way.
What's your credit card debt balance?
One
If
moment,
it's
guys. I have a
$10,000 or
commercial
more,
on my side here.
I got home innocent people. All right.
Are you speaking with Erdogan or any of the leaders about this?
Say it again.
Are you speaking with President Erdogan or one of the leaders about this?
Yes, I've spoken to all the leaders about this.
What did you say about
And by the way, as a father, look, you heard me say this before. I mean it. My dad had a simple proposition. Family is the beginning, the middle, and the end. Blood of my blood, bone of my bones. I can think of nothing more consequential. I mean it sincerely. And having lost family, not a different way, and not knowing what's happening, circumstance when they're accidental, health, it matters.
Mr. President, what did Germany ask for in response to their cooperation?
Nothing.
President Trump has said repeatedly that he could have gotten the hostages out without giving anything in exchange. What do you say to that? What do you say to President Trump now, former president?
Why didn't he do it? He's president.
Sir, what did you
Okay. So. He's done.
You heard those remarks there from President Biden, surrounded by family members of the 4 Americans now released from Russian custody, set to be on their way home shortly. You heard the president saying that they are set to be wheels up soon. And his message on the phone when he spoke with them, along with their families, was welcome almost home. The president describing, as he put it, a feat of diplomacy and friendship, saying their brutal ordeal is over. I want to bring in our NBC News chief international correspondent.
Okay. So that was a major. Hey, Lisa says what? Hey, Libby Lou. Hey, Bush Babies. Hey, Replay Gang. How are you guys? That was pretty major. It's my understanding that, well, actually, let me get into the other video really quickly. How are you guys doing today? Why is my avatar missing every time? That's just weird. I don't know why my image is missing, but it's okay. You guys know who's talking. Give me a moment, guys. Okay, which one is that? Not the one I want. Just a moment. I have the video up. I had to get my computer to move at the speed that I would like it to, the speed that it to move. Give me a second, guys. Come on now. There we go. Perfect. Y'all not saying anything in the comments? Come on now. This is a participation sport. I'm not the only one up here supposed to be doing all the talking. Let's see. Okay, here's the next video, guys. Now, this video we'll learn a little bit more about the two gentlemen held hostage in Russia by Vladimir Putin. Let's see. No. Where is it? No, that's not it. That's not it. Where is it? All right. Here we go, guys. Let's get into this one.
Evan Gershkovich, the Wall Street Journal reporter, wrongfully detained in Russia while doing his job, has been released in a large-scale prisoner swap.
It's a wonderful, joyous day.
Wait a minute, guys. I don't know why it's starting.
Beyond thrilled.
Evan, a Journal reporter, his job, has been released in a large-scale prisoner swap.
It's a wonderful, joyous day. We're beyond thrilled and delighted to see Evan freed. I think it's a really important day for the Journal.
The release marks an end to a 491. Here's how his detention and the fight for his release unfolded. On March 29th, 2023, Evan, who is accredited by Russia's foreign ministry to work as a journalist, was detained in Yekaterinburg. He was taken to Moscow and accused of espionage, making him the first American detained on such a charge since the Cold War. Evan, his family, the Journal, and the U.S. government vehemently denied the allegation. Right from the start, clear.
Let him go. In process.
And the U.S. quickly designated Evan as wrongfully detained, launching a broad government effort to exert pressure on Russia to free him.
It was significant because having this label, having been designated wrongfully detained.
Isn't this sad, y'all? Can you imagine going there to do your job and being detained?
Would unlock the absolute full efforts of the US government into getting him back.
In mid-April, a Moscow
Lisa, it worked.
court upheld Evan's detention, denying him bail and ordering him held before trial in the city's notorious Lefortovo prison. This scene would play out repeatedly as his pre-trial detention was extended several times and each appeal rejected. On 2 occasions, Evan's parents traveled to Russia to attend his hearings. Here, on their second trip, video showed them speaking with him face to face.
I was just beside myself, so happy. We were in deeply in our conversation. We were smiling and laughing. And the guard brought me back to reality that I'm in a courtroom. My son is in this aquarium, in this cage. And I had to realize where I was because I lost myself in that conversation. I was so happy to see him.
On October 26th, Evan turned 32 in prison. As 2023 came to a close, the U.S. State Department gave an update on its latest proposal to secure the release of Evan and Paul Whelan, another American imprisoned by Russia and considered by the U.S. to be wrongfully detained.
This was a new proposal in recent weeks. It was a significant proposal, and it was rejected by the Russians, but it will not deter us from continuing to do everything we can to try and bring both of them home.
Then, in mid-December, in his first public comments on Evan's case, Vladimir Putin provided an update of his own.
Мы не то чтобы отказались их возвращать. Мы не отказывались. Мы хотим договориться, и эти договоренности должны быть взаимоприемлемыми и должны устраивать обе стороны.
In an interview with Tucker Carlson in February of this year, Putin made further comments on Evan's case.
I just want to ask you directly if, as a sign of your decency, you would be willing to release him to us and we'll bring him back to the United States.
In theory, we can say we do not rule out that we can do that.
Исключаем того, что мы можем это
If our partners take reciprocal steps.
It was good to hear his name being mentioned by Putin. At the time, we felt, well, the fact that he's bringing it out into the open is a sign that he's looking towards doing a deal.
On February 9th, President Biden and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz met quietly. In agenda items was the possibility of a complex prisoner swap that might see Evan, Paul Whelan, and the prominent Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny freed in exchange for Vadim Krasikov, a Russian hitman serving a life sentence in Germany for murder. Both administrations agreed to explore the idea further, but just 1 week later, and before the White House could make a formal proposal to Moscow, Alexei Navalny's death in a Russian prison sent shockwaves around the world.
I remember I felt sick. My immediate thought was for Evan's parents. I was impressed at Ella's steadfastness. She obviously had heard the news, but she was not going to let it knock her off course. The days and weeks that followed were difficult because it became clear that we were not exactly back to the drawing board, but kind of almost. Whatever deal that had been beginning to take shape was now no longer viable. So that was a very difficult moment. That was tough.
1 day is a very long time.
I could not even imagine being in his position or being his wife.
Evan's work has been silenced for a whole year.
As the 1 year mark of Evan's imprisonment arrived, hundreds of people around the world read, ran, and swam to support him.
See so many.
On a visit to the Journal's newsroom in New York, Evan's parents reflected on the past 12 months.
It was very painful at first to see his face splashed everywhere. And now I'm used to it.
Then, on June 13th, in a major development, Russian prosecutors said they...
Oh, hold on, guys. Hey, Mom, I'm live on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Sorry, guys.
And less than 2 weeks later, he was transferred from Moscow back to Yekaterinburg for the start of a secret trial that both Washington and the Journal called a sham.
You know, one of the big problems with Evan's ordeal were these long stretches where nothing would happen. The pre-trial detention would get extended. He'd go back to prison in Moscow, and we'd wait for an appeal, which would get rejected. And we'd seem to have got into this pattern. So when they actually set a trial date and moved him to Yekaterinburg, it was a moment.
The next hearing had been set for August, but it was moved forward by nearly a month to July 18th, following a request from Evan's lawyers.
To date, Russia has provided no evidence of a crime and has failed to justify Evan's continued detention. Evan should not be detained. Paul Whelan should not be detained, and both of them should be immediately released.
The trial concluded on July 19th. Evan was sentenced to 16 years in a high-security penal colony.
Clearly very bad news. On the surface, very, very bad news. More than just on the surface. It just was bad news. And we reported it as such. And we spoke out against it, but inside and behind the scenes, it was difficult. This was bad news that could also represent good news, because we were hopeful that by having got through the legal process, we could then move into the next phase, which would be a political solution.
Just 2 weeks later, Evan was finally freed in a prisoner exchange.
The main protagonists here are Evan and his family. They have been remarkable. Their resilience, their calm, their stoicism, the way they've handled this has been awe-inspiring.
lot of the magic at the Olympic Games in things you don't see.
Okay, guys. So very, very interesting and new development within the Democratic Party. Hold on one moment. Okay. Testing. Can you guys hear me? Let me know in the comments, please. Let me know in the comments if you can hear me. All right, awesome. Thank you. Hey, Empress, how are you, dear? Let me see what y'all have been talking about in these. Hey, Libby Lou, I didn't even see you come in. Peace. How are you, love? I hope you're having a wonderful day today on purpose. Let's see. Lisa says what? Says Vlad is Trump's best friend. Another vote. Another reason not to vote for him. Not another reason not to vote for him, Lisa. Well, if they were friends, let me ask you this. If Vladimir Putin and Trump are the best of friends, why was he not able to get this prisoner swap done prior to leaving office? Like, why? You know what I'm saying? If that's his homie and his friend, he would just help him out and say, okay. But that didn't happen during his presidency. So I'm guessing Trump doesn't have that great of a friendship with Putin as, people may perceive. I don't know what their relationship is, and I'm not going to speculate on it. But what I will say is if they were friends, he would have given him that alley-oop. I mean, come on. If you're in a position of power and your friend is in a position of power and you guys can help each other. Remember, this was a prisoner swap. This was not the freeing of, the people held there. Hold on, y'all. Ugh, I got to get my bag. It was not Vladimir Putin being a humanitarian and saying, okay, I will release these Americans who have done nothing and allow them to come back home. But I want this prisoner, that prisoner. So, as you heard, there were many countries that came together to make it happen. I think he mentioned Germany and somewhere else. But I know he said this was a group effort on behalf of many nations because I think there were German prisoners in Russia as well. Now, as far as the time, Evan, and I'm not going to say his last name because I'm afraid to mispronounce it. I believe it's Goshkovich, but I'm not going to say it again. But I believe that for Evan, he was there for a year. And the other gentleman, Paul, he's been there for 5 years, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to look him up right now. And it's Gerskovich because it's GERSHKOV. ICH. Okay. All right. So it says here that Gorshkovich's trial resumed in Russia behind closed doors after nearly 16 months in detention. Washington discussed the charges as fabricated, and the UN panel deemed his detention arbitrary. I'm trying to see how much time he spent there, though. Okay. He's 32 years old. Oh, he's from Princeton, New Jersey. His top official title is journalist. He's with the Wall Street. Well, before his captivity, he was a Wall Street Journal journalist. So he was detained from March 29th, 2023 to today. He was actually sentenced in Russia to do 16 years in prison. And the entire time he was held was 1 year, 4 months, and 3 days. Wow. I mean, that has got to change you as a person. You go to a foreign country, a land that's not your home, and you're held in detention and charged and ultimately sentenced to a lengthy sentence for absolutely doing nothing but your job. That's the scary part about going overseas. When you travel overseas, folks, please be careful and aware, because I'm telling you right now, that's not the only thing that can happen in these foreign countries when you go to visit. Lisa says what kind of American patriot is BFFs with a homicidal dictator? Empress says, yes, let's vote. Someone with pledges, for someone who pledges their alliance to Divine Nine instead of the American people. Yep, yes, because you came. I'm good. How are you doing? I'm doing really good, Empress. I'm following the election this year because I feel that it's going to be one for the history books, regardless of the outcome, whether it be that the Republicans win, as far as Donald Trump winning and regaining his seat in the White House, or if Kamala is given the opportunity to steer the ship. So I really, really find it interesting. And I just from what I've seen as far as policy on both sides, there's certain things that I could do without on both sides. I've been looking through their policies, what their platforms stand for, what promises they're making that probably the majority they won't keep. But I want to see the framework of what they're setting this up to be. And if this is your first time here, just so you know, I am not able to vote. I'm a green card holder. I'm a permanent resident alien. I've been here since 1987. I could get citizenship, but I really don't want it. So I say that to say I'm not able to vote. As a non-US citizen, you do not get the privilege to vote. But just because I'm not able to cast a ballot in November for any president, any governor, any mayor, any senator, I can't get involved in that way. But I'm following this closely because while I'm not able to vote, I still want to know who's running the ship, what their plans are. I need to know if I need to, get on the first thing smoking back home to Jamaica. I definitely, because the choice that we make this year, well, the choice that you guys make this year by voting is going to be important. Again, regardless of the party, it's going to be important. I've heard people say, oh, I'm not going to vote. What's the point in voting? I am not voting. This is dumb. I'm just going to encourage you guys to utilize your vote. I understand that you may feel that, who told me? I think somebody said to me, it's rigged. Sounded like Donald Trump. It's rigged. But I don't think so. I think your vote does truly count. I don't know why would they have us go through this entire exercise of having libraries, schools get out, let out. Actually, schools are not even in session during that time. At least on voting day or 2 days in the month of November. I know I studied the month of November because it's my birthday month. But people have to go out to voter booths. The military, they could send in an absentee ballot. There's just a whole bunch of moving parts. Why would our leaders or our forefathers, based on the Constitution, create this charade? If you want to say that it's rigged, if you want to say it's fake, why would they create this big exercise for people to go out and vote, hiring people to knock on doors? Kamala Harris, Trump, Donald Trump out campaigning, collecting donations, all of this. Why would this all be going on? If this was rigged, I would be mad. Because there's just too much that goes into the voting process as well as voting itself. What are your guys' thoughts on Project 2025? I want to talk about it. What do you guys think about Project 2025? Or maybe I should table that conversation until I talk about Donald Trump. I will be coming back with his latest speech. More than likely it will be tomorrow. So, yeah, it'll be tomorrow. Yeah, I'll table that conversation for tomorrow. If you guys want to have an open discussion about Project 2025 and come up on a panel, hit my DM on IG. It is MEDAYA_2021. Just hit my IG. As far as the people who are interested in coming up on the panel, I'll coordinate a time that works best for your schedule, because I'm really flexible. But I'll coordinate a time that works for your schedule. Replay Gang, please feel free to DM me as well if you're interested in being on the panel. Again, my IG is Medaya, MEDAYA_2021. So just shoot me a quick message. Let me know that you're interested in the conversation about Project 2025, and we'll work out a time that works best for everyone. And to be honest, I might table that conversation until I get through a little bit more of Project 2025. Yeah, I might table it until next week, guys, so I could do a little bit more research so that we can have a deep conversation regarding it, because I've heard a lot about it, a lot that's alarming. And I just want to talk about it. All right. Well, guys, I will catch you on the next one. Please be sure to hit the like button on your way out. If you're not already subscribed to this channel, please consider subscribing today. Set your notifications to all so that you're notified when I go live or add new content. All right, y'all. Until next time.